Ladies and gentlemen.
Uh-oh.
It's time for the Early Bird Special. Bringing you the best stories from the world of sports and sports entertainment. Now, here are your hosts, Sparky and Burdick.
Well, good morning, Bakersfield, surrounding communities, everybody watching online on YouTube and Twitch. This is the Early Bird Special. I'm Chris Burdick. That's Sparky. Sparky, good morning, my friend.
Good morning.
Let them know what they're in for.
Oh, we've got a lot of news, especially out of the NFL. Trey Hendrickson is back at camp without a contract, without his extension anyways. We'll go down some the NFL injury bug. A lot of corners are getting hit this during camp. Trey Lance will be starting for the Chargers in tomorrow's Hall of Fame game, which I am excited just because football will be back in 24 hours. We'll run down our AFC, NFC South divisions. Maybe we'll get into the Happy Gilmore sequel, that new WWE show, Unreal, and some news from Venus Williams. If you'd like to take part in the show, you can call or text in anytime at 661-842-2000.
And honestly, I'm not going to lie to you. I've already watched the whole thing. I watched the whole shebang yesterday, all 5 episodes, all 5+ hours of the WWE Unreal. I'll give you my thoughts on that in the second hour. But if you are a fan, I'm telling you right now, you're going to love this.
It's a great show.
It's a great show. It's a great docuseries, just as dang near every single one of these docuseries have been that Netflix has dropped, especially the sports ones. They are hitting home runs, man, across the board. This one it's no different. It really isn't, but we'll get to that here on the second hour of the show. So listen out for that. Where do you want to start, my friend? I mean, there's plenty to go for. We have plenty of training camp news. Obviously, we want to get to our AFC and NFC choices here at some point, but
I think the headline is Trey Hendrickson.
I think so too.
He's back.
Now, how much he practices is up in the air. This is supposed to be a showing of good faith from the Trey Hendrickson camp, trying to get these contract negotiations done. This has everything that we have seen from Trey Hendrickson from all of this has been positives, in my opinion. He has taken this entire situation and done exactly what I feel you should do as a professional. You stood on your morals. You stood for yourself. You know what you're worth. But at the same time, you're willing to compromise. You're willing to show the business, I'm not going to be a hard head. I want to play for you and I want to play football. But let's not sit here and pretend like I don't need to get paid. They've figured out the amount of years. All they have to figure out is the amount of really the money.
Well, he's set to make $15.8 million on this current contract, and he has stated that he will not play in the regular season under that deal.
Absolutely.
And I know the Bengals owner, Mike Brown, came out and kind of just reaffirmed that the team is set. They want to re-sign him, and they ruled out any trade talk, which I was starting to think that he was going to get traded. But now that he's back at camp, and yes, he was already owing the team $250,000
for not showing up,
$50,000 a day. So I'm sure that was like, you know what, I'll just go back into the weight room and be on location, and hopefully something gets done. I'm starting to think anyways, they'll lock him in.
Yeah.
But I did see this morning that they cut running back Zach Moss, so maybe they're clearing some space up. But he's also been injury plagued.
Yeah, and Zach Moss has never really grown into that running back that we were kind of hoping he would, right, out in Buffalo. And he got his second shot with the Bengals. It didn't look amazing last year, even with them moving off of Joe Mixon and trying to find a true number 1 running back. He really could have been that guy, but Brown came in and showed everybody that he was really the one that they should probably put their money in. We'll see what happens this year because, again, as we stated yesterday, one of the worst running teams in football last year were the Cincinnati Bengals. If they change that this year, we'll see. I doubt it. I'm going to doubt it. With all the money you put into the wide receiver room, assuming you're going to go right back to that 70% throw rate that we saw last year. Joe Burrow is going to throw for 5,000 yards this year, and he's going to look good in that regard. But if that translates to wins, God only knows. I think signing Trey Hendrickson will definitely translate to wins.
Well, that was a question that we didn't get to yesterday. Was fantasy wise, do you draft Chase Brown?
No, not at all. Although he looked flashy last year in certain games, he had plenty of games where he fell flat on his face. And again, as I told you guys yesterday, we're talking about the team that literally ran the ball second least in the NFL last year. The only team that ran the ball less than them was the Cleveland Browns. And I'm telling you right now, the only reason the Cleveland Browns weren't running the football is because Nick Chubb wasn't on the field and they were behind every single game. The Bengals, it's a completely different story. They are married to the pass game. They are absolutely infatuated with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. That's who the ball is going to. If they have a tight end at the time like Gesicki, he'll probably get a touchdown or two. But no, I would not touch any of the Bengals running backs until that is proven otherwise this year, that they can turn the running game around and make it actually look good. So no, I wouldn't touch Chase at all this season.
Some other NFL news ahead of the all the long list of injuries. I know the Jets brought back the second oldest player yesterday. It's not Aaron Rodgers, obviously, but it's Nick Folk.
I can't believe Nick Folk is still kicking football. Or I don't get me wrong, not that he can't be a good kicker. It's not what I'm saying whatsoever. He's been one of the most accurate kickers since his career.
I was just going to say, I didn't know that he was so good last year. I thought his career was going downhill.
Well, a lot of them were, right? I mean, we had a really rough year for kickers last year. Younghoe Koo didn't look good. Justin Tucker didn't look good. So when Justin Tucker doesn't look good, you know it's a bad year for kickers.
Unemployed.
Yeah, now unemployed Justin Tucker.
But yeah, Folk actually led the league in field goal percentages, went 21 for 22.
That's got to be it, man. The pinnacle of consistency of just being able to knock in those 40 to 50-yard kicks. I mean, and that's what he's done his entire career, right? So it kind of makes sense. You look at guys like Nick Folk and you realize, wow, you can make a 20-year career in the NFL kicking footballs.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
But Dolphins lose another cornerback.
How does this make you guys look, though? Because I know the secondary is already thin. You got Minkah Fitzpatrick, though, back. So that's a positive. But do you feel like the cornerback room, there's just way too much missing?
I mean, they signed 2 corners last year, 2 veterans. I think they're going to sign another 2 this week, hopefully by the end of today. But Cater was going to be the number 2 at least, and he's had flashes of being a starting cornerback. I was excited to see his progression.
Mm-hmm.
But now with they picked up Jack last week. They picked up another cornerback, and now it looks like it might be Gilmore. I've heard some other mumblings about the guy we were talking about. His dad came out a couple of weeks ago saying that Asante's one of the guys. But going down this injury room, I know corners are dropping like flies. Brown's number 2 corner, Martin Emerson Jr., was carted off with a Achilles tear. Mm-hmm. Well, it confirmed this morning he is out for the season. Another cornerback, the Dallas Cowboys, Kalen Carson now is out for 6 to 8 weeks with a knee injury.
Good Lord.
Another team that could be looking for some cornerback help. And then going back into wide receivers, Chiefs, Hollywood Brown went down yesterday. On top of Sky Moore left the field with an injury, with a hamstring injury. Xavier Worthy left with a head issue. So 3 receivers dropped in one day with the Chiefs camp. Isaiah Likely is expected to miss several weeks. Harbaugh came out and said that he expects Likely to be ready for week 1 against Buffalo. We will see. It's just people are dropping like flies.
It's a weird year, obviously, in training camp with all the injuries, but corner and wide receiver seem to be the most that are being knocked this off season, or I guess from what we've seen. I'm telling you right now, we'll start with the Chiefs because I said it the other day. I don't think we need any more proof that this is the perfect year for a team like the Denver Broncos or the LA Chargers to finally do it. Put the stake through the heart of the injured dynasty. I mean, think about it, dude. You lost all 3 of your wide receivers in the first couple week or the first week of camp.
Rice is probably going to get suspended
at least. Travis didn't look anywhere near to being Travis as we saw him last year. God only knows if he's going to be doing that this year because he's still dating Taylor, and I'm pretty sure he's still been traveling with her, which means none of the lifestyle changes have changed.
In between filming Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think Travis is really. I stand on this, but I think this is Travis's last season in the NFL. Not because he wants to, but I think that much like John Cena said in the Unreal, sometimes your body just tells you it's time. And I'm not saying he's old because, I mean, again, he's in his 30s. It's weird to say someone that his age has to retire, but it's football. Sometimes that you just don't play to that ability anymore, and you'd rather not have your legacy be tarnished by a couple really, really bad years.
And personally, I didn't think he was going to come back this year.
And a lot of people didn't.
But a Super Bowl loss will do that.
Yeah. And honestly, I think that they are driven to get back there. I'm expecting to see Kelsey at least try to be back at Kelsey level. Whether he gets there or not, we'll see. I still say that he can be a top 5 tight end in the league easily, especially with a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes. But I'm telling you right now, 3 receivers go down in the same day. What more proof do you need, Sean Payton? It is time, my friend. It is time. Take the dynasty down. As far as the corners going down, a lot of them are non-contact too, which scares the ever-living Jesus out of me. But I stand by what we said the other day. What's going on in the off season that they're not doing that they were doing in the past?
I think that's what it is. I think it's just really the off season.
Got to be something, right? Like the workouts maybe, or just the way they live or something of that nature. Like there's got to be something. And it could just boil down to the style of play too, realistically speaking, because the game has changed tremendously in the last couple of years. So maybe it's just the overall strain that these guys get from playing so long. But there's got to be something out there that's just the outlier that's causing a lot of these non-contact injuries, especially so early in the season.
Oh, my Dolphins better jump on the phone and get some corners because I know Rasul Douglas is still out there. Gilmore. There's several corners, veteran corners that we need to get on the phone now.
If I'm a football player, and I would not be very happy about the drop in play or the drop in injuries, obviously, the increase in injuries rather. But if you're Stephon Gilmore, Asante Samuel, or any of the names we just mentioned, you are very happy right now because there are jobs popping up all around the league for you.
Come to Florida, baby.
I'm just saying, and you can get some good money from these teams who are now, well, lack of a better word, desperate.
Yep.
To find somebody to fill that need.
Well, luckily, Miami drafted high with the corner, but it still has to prove himself. The league is
they're pressed, man. I'm telling you. I know we're talking about finding an answer to a lot of these head injury situations. I think just like basketball, I think the NFL needs to look into a lot of these ACL, MCL injuries as well, because they get a lot of them throughout the year. So I think that really looking into whatever way we can stop those from happening throughout the seasons, I think that's beneficial to every athlete, and it honestly keeps people on the field longer, and we'd all want to see that. That's how these games get won, and honestly, it's how money gets made. So I think that as long as we figure out a way to somehow deter or go back to the way it used to be where these ACL injuries aren't that big of an issue. But I mean, you just name off 4 or 5 corners just in a day alone that went down for the entire season. Like it's not looking good for the NFL, and there has to be a way to not fix it per se, but at least deter it.
And sadly, I mean, it's news for us to talk about, but every day it's been what injury is going to happen. Players are dropping every day. And plus, it's getting interesting because preseason football is right around the corner. Like we said, Hall of Fame game starts tomorrow. We'll get into that and much more right after this break on the Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. Yeah.
Yeah.
7:20. Get out of your bed.
Wake up.
It's your morning blood. This is the early bird special.
Hall of Fame game tomorrow. You can catch it right here on ESPN Bakersfield with coverage starting at 5 p.m. It's the Chargers and the Lions.
Two of the most electrifying coaches. Dan Campbell and Jim Harbaugh on the field. It's going to be a great Hall of Fame game.
Trey Lance starting.
Trey Lance will be the starter. That is true for the Chargers. Could this be a career revitalization for Lance? Not 100% sure. I think there's a lot of people out there in the world right now that are skeptical on the Herbert train.
I am.
I know you are. I know you're not alone, though. That's the thing. I know that I am not. I personally believe in the kid. I think that he's shown enough to be seen as a respectable starting quarterback in the league. But I do understand there's a lot of people out there, and I understand why there are some skepticisms because he has not had the success that we were hoping he'd have by this time. And again, when you drafted Justin Herbert, I think everybody in the LA organization was thinking this is going to be the guy that takes us past Patrick Mahomes. This is going to be the guy that puts us in the same conversation because there was a time where we were talking about 5 AFC quarterbacks to be the top tier guys, 5, including Justin. It was just a couple years ago where they really shaved him off the list and made it 4 because he has not had that success. Can he go back to being that guy?
Well, like you said, I mean, the Chiefs dealing with injuries already. And if that, goes on into the season where they're hurting at receiver, I mean, could you think the Chargers could be that team? I know Tyson's listening, so
I want to say the Chargers are, but I feel more that the Broncos are.
Yep,
I think the Broncos are built more, especially defensively, to be that team to take down the Chiefs.
That's why. I think that's exactly why. Not quarterback comparison,
no,
but I think the defenses win championships, like they always say, and I believe in Denver's team way more than
100%.
the Chargers.
But see, the only thing that deters me from that thought, and you've heard me say it about 15 billion times since we started this show, and you're hearing me say it 15 billion more. Say it with me now, the sophomore slump. That's the only thing that I could think of that is going to deter them taking this over this year, is Bo Nix having some sort of slump where it deters the offense enough where they start losing more games than winning them. Because as much as the defense looks great and is built to be that team, I'm not sure if led by a sophomore quarterback, you can make that work. Again, 14 of the last rookie quarterbacks to be in the top 15 of yardage and all the statistics and all that type of stuff, where Bo Nix was last year, essentially, only 4 of them the next year have returned to that form.
I think Bo will be one of those 4. I just believe in Peyton.
The 5th out of 15. Or
I just like Peyton, and
it's
I like that offense too. And locking in Sutton, he's going to be a happy camper starting the season. And I've seen a lot of the rookies. The Chargers are going to be relying on a lot of rookies this year, not only at running back but receiver. Bosa's gone. It's going to be a different type of team, but I would be just as happy as Charger fans or Bronco fans or Raider fans if the Raiders come out and surprise people. Anybody but the Chiefs
at this point. But are you as surprised as I am that the Chargers haven't reached out to a wide receiver to fill in that room, especially after the retirement of Mike Williams?
I
thought for sure we would have heard Keenan Allen resigns.
And see, Keenan is working out for Miami this week.
Yeah, or so Amari Cooper or one of these guys.
I was thinking Cooper would be a perfect fit, but I think they're going to wait and see more because I know the rookie receiver has been turning some heads in camp. I know they like McConkley. I don't know. I think the Harbaugh way, they're going to be run heavy. And I don't know with the Najee thing because Najee is a heavy runner. But with Hampton, man, I like this kid Hampton too. He reminds me a lot of Tomlinson when he was younger. And I don't know because I see Harbaugh and I immediately think defense and run heavy. So I don't know. We'll see because I think there'll be a lot of moves, especially with injuries and teams getting a lot of tape now with preseason starting here in a week or so. we're going to see a lot more, and we'll have a lot more to talk about
Mm.
with teams and what holes they need to address.
I don't know. Like, I know Harbaugh is one of those coaches that he loves his guys and he wants to keep it, his guys kind of a thing. And I totally get that. He's had a year or two with these players and he knows what he can get out of them. With the loss of Mike Williams, who was essentially going to come in as your number one receiver, you would assume that they at least try to make some sort of adjustment to pick somebody. I know that the Herbert and Johnson connection has been looking great in the first couple weeks of camp. But like I said, and like you could hear on any of the other ESPN shows, it's not just me saying this, you really can't take these initial practices at training camp for anything, good or bad. We talked about how some of these quarterbacks, their first throw was a pick six. Of course it is. The defense has had way more time to get ready than the offense, and the quarterback's just trying to adjust and figure different things out. I mean,
this is the time to throw the picks.
Absolutely.
Get them out.
And I mean, we've seen plenty of tape from every team that has been good and bad, from players throwing their hands up because they ran the wrong route, or, Quentin Johnson catching nines off of the corners in LA who are non-existent realistically. So can we really take that into play, or into consideration, I should say, that they look good right now in training camp and may not need a wide receiver? Personally, I think you still do, because as much as I would like to say that you could walk in with a group full of young wide receivers who have never played together besides Ladd McConkey and Quentin Johnson and make it work, but it's one of those situations where you're going to have to rely on the pass game eventually. This is the NFL. I love that fact that you're a run first team. That should be the case in most cases with NFL teams, but it's the NFL. You're still going to need Justin to throw at least 200 to 300 yards a game if you're going to be successful. That's just kind of how the NFL works these days. Unless your offensive line becomes golden gods and opens every hole for Hampton and Najee to run through, and you literally don't have to pass ever. But we have not seen that ever. So I'm going to go out there and say you still need wide receivers to be successful. And that's really what kind of deters me from putting you above the Broncos right now. Not to mention that the Broncos are ahead of you leaps and bounds defensively. But
I was more surprised that they let Bosa walk.
That too. But I'm not necessarily that surprised because of the injury plagues.
But the same thing, I mean, with Mike Williams, I don't think they've had a full season out of Mike Williams in 5-6 years.
Right. But again, he didn't even play for him last year.
Exactly.
So,
and I'm saying, like, he was injury prone in the first place. And I know that they have some undrafted receivers that they're happy with. And maybe that's what Harbaugh wants. Maybe he's, has some guys that he saw in college that he believes in.
I know Jerry Rice's son was one of those kids last season. I don't know if he's still on the roster,
but there's also teams that want to see what they do on the field in preseason before they make any drastic changes.
Right.
But that is one of the things. And going back to the Trey Lance, I mean, I still thought that his better option was going to be in Dallas, and that was cut quickly.
Well, at this point, Dallas moved on from that very quickly and got Milton instead. And I'm not going to lie to you, I totally forgot about that. And now Dak Prescott might be in trouble if he does not have a solid season this season. Because as we saw last year, I think Milton could be a good starting quarterback in the NFL if he ever got a shot. He has looked great with his short tenure with the Patriots last season. I know it was preseason, but he still had his moments of looking like he could dominate. So if I am the Dallas Cowboys right now, at least Dak Prescott, I have to have a good season.
That was one guy I wanted in Miami was Milton.
Well, they may have found his replacement. I'm just saying, because Milton, if he's any bit as good as we think, or at least we saw last season, he could take that job from you, especially if you come out looking ugly. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, the season is right around the corner. There's a lot of talking points that we will get to as the season progresses. But in terms of the AFC West, I know we talked about it a couple days ago, where we expect these teams to be with the developments rather that have happened in the last day and a half. I'm not expecting these wide receivers of Kansas City to be out long term. Let's not get crazy. But it may not be a good omen. I'm just saying, like, usually when your season starts off this way and you don't get good chemistry and reps early, especially between the quarterback and the wide receiver room, a wide receiver room that didn't look that great last year, this could just be a bad omen and a continuation of a downfall for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well, we can only hope. But we started the week off with the West. Yesterday was the North. So after this break, we'll dive into the AFC South. Right after this break, this is the Early Bird Special.
Welcome back. It's the early bird special right here on ESPN. Bakersfield. We've been talking football all morning. To be honest with you,
I
we're
love
gonna have
it.
to get used to that. Just gonna have to get used to it. Football's back. It may start on Thursday, but football's back. I know it's just a Hall of Fame game, but who cares? Football is back. We're all excited about it. So we're going to go down our list here of the divisions and continue that for you. We did the AFC West on Monday, the NFC West. We took care of the North yesterday, and today we'll be taking care of the AFC and NFC South, starting with the AFC. I can do the NFC off the top of my head, but I'm trying not to be a homer at the same time here. I'm telling you right now. We'll get to that here at the 8 o'clock hour. But starting with the AFC South, I'm going to state what I stated yesterday. Really start this with what I stated yesterday. The NFC and AFC North, I expect to be the most competitive divisions in football.
What?
That's where I'm going to put it. I'm telling you right now, the Ravens, the Ravens, the Browns, Pittsburgh
Oh
Steelers,
yeah.
and the Bengals. And then you take the North as well, the Lions, the Packers, the Bears, and the Vikings. Those are the two most competitive divisions in football this year. And most of them have the hardest schedules in football. When we look at the South, the exact opposite. These are the easiest divisions in football, in my opinion. When you really look at it top to bottom, the teams and how good they are, very winnable division. So, start with the AFC. In my personal opinion, until I am proven otherwise, until I see a massive step back from this team, the AFC South has been and will continue to be dominated by the Houston Texans.
Yep.
CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans have looked good and continue to look good. D'Amico Ryans knows what he's doing down there, and they have built a formidable team to at least get to the playoffs every single season. My only concern is you've yet really take that next step into contendership. And we really haven't seen that from the Houston Texans in a long, long time, even during the J.J. Watt days. I know a lot of people wanted J.J. Watt to contend for a championship, and they had some great-looking teams for a long time with Andre Johnson and a lot of those other guys. You got the Schaub years. But ever since then, we've never really seen the Houston Texans take that leap into us truly believing that they are a Super Bowl contending team. I would like to say that we could potentially see that this year. This is the third year for CJ Stroud. You would assume that he's now got the bad part behind him, which if you really look at the last 2 years of his career, the first two of his career, I should say, they're pretty much the same. Even as a sophomore slump, he still had a pretty successful year last year with the Houston Texans. And I would expect that to happen again this year, if not getting better. So until I see otherwise, the Houston Texans will probably continue to dominate this division. And that's just my thoughts. I think I give them about
that's
10
everyone's
to 12
thoughts. I don't think that that division is weak. I think we saw. I mean, maybe not Super Bowl contending team, but they're a playoff team.
100%.
And even without that weak ass division, I'm gonna agree. Texans take that division, and it'll be a while until I think anyone else is competitive in it.
Yeah.
And I mean, just going off of last year, I mean, 10-7. The Colts were about the closest with 8-9, and I still think the Colts take a step back this year.
Yep.
And this was probably the easiest division to prep for.
It really was. And it's not taking a slight at really the teams themselves. When you look at their strength of schedule too, it should be a pretty easy season for all four of these teams. They're all in the bottom half. The Houston Texans have the hardest schedule out of all of them, and they're 18th. So when you look at it, I would expect Houston to at least win 10 to 12 games. But at this point right now, I agree with you, Sparky. I just don't think that any of the rest of these teams can really have what it takes to compete with D'Amico Ryans and what they've built in Houston and continue to build, because this team isn't done by any stretch. They want to become that Super Bowl contender that everybody's kind of been hoping they'd be. So
I don't see it.
Not this year. But I mean, who knows? Maybe we can be swayed. Maybe CJ Stroud comes out and has an MVP caliber year, and we're all talking about the Houston Texans as one of the top teams in the AFC this year.
Yeah, maybe they get Nick Chubb.
Absolutely.
We'll see.
And that's one of the biggest acquisitions, I think, of the offseason was pairing Nick Chubb with Joe Mixon. I think with this tandem of a backfield now, there should be no excuse at all for you not to have a top 5 running game in the NFL. You have a solid offensive line, a great quarterback that plays off of the play action very, very well. This all boils down to should be a top offense for the AFC, if not the NFL.
So the real question is, who do you got at 2?
Jacksonville.
Me too.
Honestly, and it's not by leaps and bounds either.
Right.
I
would not bet that money.
No, not at all. And I don't expect them to fight for a wild card spot either in this situation. I think you're probably around 8 and 9, 7 and 10, somewhere in that area.
And that's giving them a plus.
I have to agree. It's nothing against Trevor Lawrence. I just don't think Jacksonville has it built correctly down there yet. I really don't. I think with the new coach coming in, being an offensive minded guy, I like it, but there's still something about him. Coach, I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't
you
get
think
behind
Trevor's going to get another coach fired?
It's possible. It genuinely is possible. But again, I can't necessarily say he's the one getting them fired. I think they're getting themselves fired.
Yeah. I mean, the overall, but when you go, their name is quarterback for a reason. They're captain of that team.
True. And Trevor came in as arguably one of the most hyped up quarterbacks of the generation.
Ideally, do you think Trevor takes a step forward?
I want to say yes. That's the one part of this team besides Travis Hunter that I need to see you be a star. It's kind of like Justin Herbert in a way.
Exactly.
It's so good, yet you are on such a bad team that it really bugs me, right? And neither of them have had any playoff exposure outside of the game they played against each other that ended in such a historically just rough way.
What do you think Travis Hunter brings that at least excitement to get those over to maybe 7-8 wins?
I say
because they're coming off a 4-win season.
I think you can double that. I genuinely do. I think the team you have, you can double that, but especially the competition you're going up against, because 24th in scheduling right now in the easiest schedule. You can turn this season around. I genuinely think that, but if you're Jacksonville, you need to start finding people to develop these players and build a team, because it's not working. If you're the owner, Khan, and you're sitting there wondering why is Jacksonville not, why is this not working out for me? Why is the AEW looking better than my own football team?
The AEW of football.
It's so bad, man.
We're giving them a lot of love.
We are. And honestly, and this is saying something, because I almost put Tennessee over them. I almost put the Titans over them because Cam coming out into camp and everything that I've seen from the tapes and stuff like that, and just the overall message. I've said this a million times, I think the fact that you haven't heard anything about Cam Ward is a good thing.
Yesterday they were blowing him up.
I know. And that's why I'm saying that. The offseason of not talking about him being the first overall pick and all that type of stuff and the hype going around with it, that's a good thing. Let him not have that pressure. Because I think that's what breaks a lot of first overall picks a lot of the time, is they come in with all of this pressure of being that guy for this team. If you don't put that on his back.
And that's the thing I'm worried about with Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
I mean, if
you're kind of doing that with him.
I mean, I think he's going to be a hell of a player. But his rookie season, I know he can go 2 ways. I know everybody's been talking about it before the draft, but maybe out of all the teams, the Jaguars is probably not the team you want to try that out at. No.
And honestly, I don't see this working. I really don't. Don't get me wrong. I see him being put into offensive schemes and stuff like that, and being put into packages 100% and utilized when they can. But to have Travis Hunter play both ways as a starter is not going to work.
And you're you're drafted on a team that won 4 games last year, have trying to find a new identity. And maybe that's where you don't run your star out of gas too early.
Just take this last couple weeks of the training camp as a deterrent, really. And as an omen. We've seen corners and wide receivers specifically drop due to injury in the last couple of days. And that's probably due to overworking or something of that nature. If you overwork Travis this quickly, you are just sprinting him towards either an injury or a shortened career. And
exactly.
It's not going to work out for you. That's why I still say have him pick one or the other and then build packages where he can be utilized in both.
Yeah, because we've heard from, veteran receivers and veteran players that are saying,
he's going to get blown up.
Go ahead. play defense.
Could you
We'll
imagine?
we'll
Well,
just
think of
run
it
all
this way.
out.
He has to play the Cincinnati, or he has to play these teams all 2 times a year. Okay, he has to play Houston, the Titans, and the Colts 2 times a year. So let's say he's playing the Colts, okay, and he goes out there and runs a 9 and blows past the corner, scores a touchdown. Then he returns a kick for you, runs it back 25 yards. Then he has to play against Michael Pittman, who's one of the biggest wide receivers in the league, and cover him, and he's immediately going to get blown up because he can't handle at least staying with him because he's so gassed. I just don't see this working out at all. I think that Jacksonville would benefit from just finding what Travis is the best at and building around that. But again, this still puts them at number 2 in the AFC South at the moment. But it was really hard for me not to put the Tennessee Titans over them this year. It really, really was. We got a phone call real quick.
We got Daily.
Daily Dave, how are you, sir?
Hey, good morning, guys. I'm thinking about the word you just used, overworked.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do with Saquon Barkley this year? They worked him perfectly. He had a great year. They won the Super Bowl. I thought Derrick Henry was going to be the one to bring the Super Bowl to the Ravens. So now my question for you guys is, how much do we give the ball to Saquon this year as defending Super Bowl champs?
I say if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly.
I say keep going as long as he can go.
And that team is built for him.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, if he was in Jacksonville, I would say maybe not.
Well, and we're also talking about a team that has arguably the best offensive line in football that protect Saquon and Jalen very, very well. So the lack of hits that they take compared to when he was playing with the Giants, I think really helps him out with that situation a lot. There's way more breakaway speed, obviously, that's being utilized because he's not getting hit as often. I personally think, and I agree with you, I think Derrick Henry is going to be helping the Ravens at least get to a Super Bowl here in the next year or so. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think the biggest overworked position has to be the cornerback.
I like your answer. I've been using that since the 80s when I worked for certain companies. I say, if it ain't broke, don't come in here and try to fix it.
That's exactly right. Answer. I mean,
no, you're right.
If there's anything that happens, obviously, any developments, then they'll have to make that happen. But as of right now, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I agree with you, though. Overworking players is becoming a problem. We've seen it, and we talked about it early in the show. Maybe that's why a lot of these guys are seeing so many ACL and season-ending injuries so early. God only knows.
But we'll take our final break of the hour, and we'll recap the AFC South and finish it off right here on the Early Bird Special.
does team spirit smell like?
I I smelled it yesterday
I
when I
was just
picked up
about
my
to.
son from band camp.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
probably true.
not Old Spice. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, it's Old Spices, but it's not Old Spice.
And I will be smelling it for about 2.5 hours after band camp is. We're finally going to watch Fantastic Four tonight.
Fantastic. Honestly, I can't wait to hear what you say about it. I need to go see it this weekend. But we'll get to some other entertainment stuff on the other side of the break because we got to get to Happy Gilmore too. We didn't get to talk about that in the last couple of days. I watched that immediately. I'm not gonna lie. I could have talked about it on Monday, but it was one of those situations where we had too much to get to. And when I tell you there are 72 cameos in this movie, 72. I'm not joking. There are so many professional golfers, professional athletes that are in this movie that everybody wanted to be a part of it. And who doesn't? It's Adam Sandler. I mean, I know there's a lot of people who don't care for his humor. I find you to be ridiculous. Adam Sandler is an American treasure, and I will stand by that statement along with Kevin Smith and many, many others. Let's wrap up our thoughts, though, on the AFC North. I'm sorry, the AFC South. We talked about the North yesterday.
Sorry, we're not doing a giveaway.
Uh-oh.
She was listening to the right station,
But wrong giveaway.
yeah,
No
she was
giveaways
the
today, I'm
11th
sorry.
caller. But if you want a shirt,
I mean, we
want
can
one of
hook you
these
up
early
with the
bird shirts.
We
I
got
got you.
plenty of early bird
You
shirts.
call me
we can
back,
give away.
sweetheart.
Uh,
But the
I was
other
wondering
one-
why you were shaking your head. It's like, what happened? Did we get?
I thought she had the stations wrong, but she was listening to the early bird special. The Colts is what I got at third.
At third, see, I got the Titans, and it's only because they have figured out their quarterback situation. And I think that that in itself is going to give them some success this year going in. Plus, they're looking at the fourth easiest schedule in the NFL going into next season. And
Those schedule rankings are horse.
well, actually, you could say that, but they're really not when you look at it at the end of the year. It depends on which divisions they're actually going up against and all of that. It really just it helps looking at the competition they're looking at going forward here.
They're going off of last year's stats, though.
Well, last year's records, yes, but it does. It like I said, that's true in a certain sense, but when you look at how successful a lot of these teams were, and let's be honest, we haven't exactly changed any of the rankings. So if they were unsuccessful last year, we're probably going to think they're unsuccessful this year.
We just gave a 4-win team 8 wins.
No, I understand that. Like again, well, I said 7, but again, I regardless, it's one of those situations that it may work out for the Titans this year, just because the new rookie quarterback coming in, it's not Will Levis, and at this point, if you're Tennessee going against probably the weakest division in football in the AFC South, it's arguable between them and the NFC South. I think that they're looking at least semi-decent to get 6 wins, 5 wins, 6 wins this year and make a little bit of a step forward as they did last season, then they did last season, I should say. I believe in Cam Ward, and as I said before the break, the fact that you hadn't heard much about him coming into this is probably a good thing. I think this is going to be one of the first instances we see a first overall pick not really come in with that kind of hype and pressure on him, which is going to benefit him going forward, and his play can only get better. Because without that kind of a pressure, it would actually benefit him because he can worry about his play on the field rather than what the media is going to be saying about him after the game.
Yeah, I'm going with the Colts in third, and it is a coin flip. I love Jonathan Taylor, and I swear that Anthony Richardson is not a starting quarterback, and he will not start that whole season. And I still think Daniel Jones is going to take that job from him. And going into my fourth was the Titans. I know they only won 3 games last year, but I love the direction the team is going. So I could flip-flop, and I say it in my notes. This team could surprise us and be the second team in division by the end of the season. But I want to see it's always tough when you have the number 1 pick in the draft and then try to turn it around.
Yeah.
But luckily they're in a weak division, and that's why I still have the Titans at the bottom, but it's very slim, and I think that they can easily turn it around and go above the Colts and the Jaguars.
See, I have the Colts at the bottom solely because they haven't figured out their quarterback situation, right? And to be honest, when I look at their quarterback room, neither of those guys are starting quarterbacks. So Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson, both, regardless of who you choose, is not going to be a successful year for you. And granted, you may have Jonathan Taylor and you re-signed your tackle to a $100 million contract yesterday and all of this stuff that you're doing going forward. That's great. But until you solidify arguably the second most important position, well, actually, no, it's the most important position, second hardest position to play, because I still say corner is the hardest position to play. So the most important position on the field, though, is the quarterback. And if you do not have somebody that is capable of leading your team at that point, I can't exactly put you anywhere near second or third place in your division. Personally, I think this is going to be a really bad year for the Colts. I think they're probably maybe going to get 4 wins. Maybe.
I'd be surprised if any of those 3 teams get 8 wins.
I really would too. Again, the Titans, I'm being nice with the 6. I think that you could probably get a little bit more because obviously you're not having Will Levis throw interceptions as much. But it's one of those situations where, like we said, coming into this is a really, really, really bad division. And outside of teams like the Giants and a handful of others, can't say there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be worse than a lot of these teams we talked about right now.
We'll get into the
Tennessee
NFC South, and I think the same thing with that division. So
exactly. So at this point, it is what it is. It's going to be one of those rough years for the South. And this is just how the NFL goes, right? I mean, a couple of years ago, we were talking about the NFC South as one of the toughest divisions in football when they had Matt Ryan, Cam Newton, Drew Brees. I mean, it was hard to say any of those teams in the South weren't going to make the playoffs. Now, I mean, rehashing and reviving your franchises happens more often than people think.
Somebody's got to make the playoffs.
Exactly. And rebuild years happen every single year. So hopefully your team doesn't have to worry about that this season, but we will see as the NFL season kicks off here on Thursday. You could hear the Hall of Fame game right here on ESPN Bakersfield starting at 5:00 as the Lions head to LA to take on the Chargers.
Canton.
Oh, that's right. It's in Canton. I'm dumb. I see the Chargers and I immediately think they're going to SoFi. You're right. It's in Canton, so it will not be in LA. But we got to take a break real quick, pay some bills. We'll get to the NFC South on the other side. This is the Early Bird Special on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield. Welcome back. Early Bird Special, Hour 2. We just gave you our AFC South thoughts. We're going to shift over to the NFC, and then on the other side, we'll talk a little wrestling as Vince McMahon is back in the news for, well, it's never good news. What am I talking about? When Vince is in the news, it's never good news.
We'll talk Happy Gilmore.
We'll also talk Happy Gilmore.
We'll talk WWE Unreal.
There's plenty to talk about, but we got to run down the NFC South real quick. As we just told you about the AFC South, it's going to be an ugly year for the South divisions. Ugly year. I expect the Houston Texans to probably get about 10 wins. Everybody else, I'm going to be surprised if you make it past 7. When it comes to the NFC South, we may see it one more time, but we may see a team with a losing record actually win this division. That's where I'm kind of seeing this shape up.
That's what I was thinking. The NFC South is barely better than the AFC South.
Barely. And that's not saying much, but it pains me to say it, Sparky. And I know you're not going to be on my team when tomorrow when you do your division, but Tampa Bay is going to win.
That's why I'm going to go with Tampa until they're dethroned. And as long as Baker's there, I mean, he takes the chances, but I'm a defensive guy, and I like Tampa's D.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Defense is going to kill in the NFC South this year, and I have to agree with you. I think the defense of Tampa Bay really just outmatches a lot of what the rest of you're going to see from this division, especially from teams like Atlanta, who's really – they've been trying to retool the defense, but they've been losing a lot of key players on it the last couple of years and haven't really been able to fill those gaps when needed. Tampa Bay, to me, is just consistent. They're consistently challenging to beat by everybody's record. I mean, it doesn't matter if they're playing someone from the NFC South or if they're playing somebody from the AFC West. They're going to be a tough team to beat. Baker Mayfield, as much as I loved hating on him when he was at Oklahoma, still stand by my statement that he has one of the most punchable faces in football.
Yes, he does.
But
he has with Kirk Cousins.
He has won me over. He really has. His play and his demeanor, his maturity, how he's become this quarterback for Tampa Bay. He has won not only myself, but a vast majority of football fans over. And to be honest with you, I agree with you until I see otherwise, a team like Atlanta or somebody else to step into that role and take this lead or this division over from them. I'm going to have to say Tampa Bay wins this division as either a 9-8 or an 8-9.
I got him winning 10.
Do you have him at 10? Say I got him at 8 or I got him at 9-8 right now, but there's something in my head that tells me the NFC South is going to be that division with a team with a losing record that actually wins it, which obviously everybody hates.
Yeah.
And we're going to get a lot of grief about that because that happened last year. And that's why the Lions and everybody wanted to make that new rule this year of it didn't matter what your record was to get a home field game. Personally, I find it to be ridiculous, but it is what it is.
Quit screwing with it.
Exactly. But at this point, Tampa Bay, led by Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, who is a Hall of Famer and arguably one of the best wide receivers to play in this entire generation. I think he gets overlooked a lot. And I think at the end of his career, we're going to be talking about Mike Evans as one of the best receivers, at least top 10. Probably
I love Evans. I think Godwin doesn't get any respect or love anyways.
Godwin doesn't anymore, or at least the last year or two because of the injury plagues. But I do agree with you. He is a consistent threat every single time. And the fact that they were able to lock in both of those guys, even with the Tom Brady contract back then, it's been a testament to what Tampa Bay has been able to do. And you're right. I mean, all of that while still finding some of the sneakiest, just sneaky good defensive guys, right? Your Davids, your Vita Veas, all that. Obviously you had Whitfield Jr. out in the back, and it just the defense is stacked every single year. Tampa Bay is going to be tough. I think number 2 in the NFC South, I'm going to give to the Atlanta Falcons.
I would hope.
I mean, at this point, again, much like Tampa Bay, I think it's going to be a 1-2 punch here for who wins this division. But it could end up being an 8-9 season for either of these teams. And if Atlanta comes out and has a sophomore slump with Penix, that's going to be a problem because all of the pieces that you've already been building around, I don't know how long Kyle Pitts is going to be part of the team, although everything we see in camp is he's been targeted a lot and this entire relationship between him and Penix is working out. But
I know they've lined him up at receiver a lot more.
There's just way too many question marks when it comes to Atlanta for me.
I like Atlanta just because of this division. I took Atlanta at second, but I love Penix too. So I'm hoping that he is the starting quarterback of the future for Atlanta.
Mm.
And I really hope that they can get Cousins out of there before week 1, just because I don't want to hear the whispers of Cousins all season.
Well,
But
it's going to be there
I just
regardless.
want Penix to have a clear shot to be their starting quarterback.
Mhm.
What I've seen and what other people have seen from the early parts of Penix last year, I think he's a solid quarterback. I just want to see how they play out this offense with him at quarterback 1.
Barring an injury setback, I think Penix is the quarterback 1 for the foreseeable future for Atlanta. Outside of some sort of major injury that could happen here in the next couple of weeks, it has really been the talk of the camp that he has won over everybody, and he's really shown that he is an NFL caliber quarterback. I agree with you that with Kirk there, obviously there's going to be nothing but the media stirring it up, especially if there's one bad game, much like they did last year with Kirk, though. So maybe this is a good thing for Michael. Maybe this is something that he needs to go through as well. And honestly, if Atlanta learned anything from last season, don't listen to other people about the quarterback situation, I guess. You know what I mean? Like everybody came in, including myself, saying this Kirk Cousins deal was ridiculous and that was the dumbest deal in the world. And at the same time, you drafting a quarterback at the first round didn't make a lot of sense. But obviously, with the injury to Kirk Cousins halfway through the season and Michael Penix being able to step into that role, and the team's offense didn't take a step back at all. So maybe they do that this year. Maybe they just sit there and decide, you know what? I know everybody's saying move on from Kirk, but until Kirk comes to us and says, I refuse to play for you unless I'm the starter, maybe you keep him there just in case something happens with Michael. Because let's not forget, Michael Penix did have some injury history back in college.
It's
And
like Cousins.
Yeah.
But,
so
I mean, that's a lot of money for a backup quarterback is what I'm saying.
Oh, 100%. I'm not sitting here saying that the money that they're paying him is warranted in any way, shape, or form. What I'm saying is that maybe they just throw caution to the wind and say, until we are literally forced to move on from Kirk Cousins.
Sold on Penix.
Yeah. Maybe we just keep him just in case Michael goes down with an injury this year. But just in case.
That is a rough way to look at a season, though.
I know. But I mean, again, that's exactly what they did last year with Kirk Cousins, right? They came in, Kirk was a starter. We drafted Michael just in case something happens with Kirk. Just in case. You never know what happens.
It's different when you're drafting a quarterback for a backup, but paying somebody starting quarterback money for a backup is a little different.
No, absolutely.
But I think Penix is going to be a gunslinger, and I look forward to seeing him in Atlanta. And if he is as good as I think he's going to be, I wouldn't be surprised that he gets into the playoffs this year and leapfrogs Tampa, but it's going to be between those two.
If Atlanta is going to do that, in my opinion, you need to start basing the offense around what more Philadelphia does. You need Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier to be running the ball 50 to 60% of the time. And I mean that because every time those two touch a football, including Drake London, it's magic.
Yeah.
It is absolute
cinema. Go anywhere.
And it is exciting. They always get positive yards. I don't even think you can count on one hand how many times Tyler Algier was hit in the backfield last year and lost yards. It's one of those situations where, much like we just told Daily Dave, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If you have success in the area, don't fix it. And I think that's one thing that Atlanta could really benefit from is if you focus this offense more around Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier and really get a run-first situation going, not only will you take the pressure off of Michael Penix and allow him to flourish in different ways, but you put Bijan in a situation that essentially makes him an MVP candidate. Because let's be honest, he has the talent to be that. But it's really putting him in the right situations to do so. And if you do that, you also entice these players to stay longer. Because I'm not going to lie to you, if I'm Tyler Algier, I'm sitting here thinking, although I love playing in Atlanta, but Bijan's taking up all my carries and I'm a starting running back because he is. So if I'm Atlanta, I maybe shift the offense a little bit, go more run-centered, or at least centered around getting Bijan the ball a little bit more. Maybe we do put Kyle Pitts out a wide receiver instead and get a blocking tight end. It might work out a little bit better for you. But I think you need to make little adjustments to really put yourself in front of Tampa Bay right now. I just don't know if Atlanta has done that, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I would love to say a lot of these young rookies coming in on the defensive side are going to be able to fill the void that Grady Jarrett and a lot of these guys are leaving. But let's be honest, Grady Jarrett every single year was one of the pinnacles of consistency at defensive tackle and was one of those guys you could consistently believe in to get to the quarterback. Without that, on a team that has been historically bad at sacking a quarterback in Atlanta in the last decade and a half since the John Abraham days, it's not looking good for the Atlanta defense. So until I see something better out of that side of the ball, I can't necessarily say that Atlanta is going to take this division wholeheartedly from Tampa Bay.
Well, since you're an Atlanta fan, realistically, what do you see the overall record at the end of the season? Just as a fan, not just as a sports fan, but as a Falcons fan.
Falcons fan, I would hope we're somewhere in the 10-7 range. That is probably the ceiling, I would say, if not a little bit higher than that. But I've been shocked before. But honestly, knowing how these things usually go and how this season probably is going to shape up, I mean, I know you brought it up earlier that you don't believe in a lot of the percentages and stuff like that of the toughest schedule. Atlanta's got the 20th hardest schedule next year. So Tampa Bay is right above them at 19. I genuinely believe 8-9 is a fair record for them right now, at least as a analytic standpoint, if not a little bit lower.
Yeah,
because
I was looking at 7-8.
I think
7-8 wins.
Yeah, I think 7-8 wins is probably a fair number for Atlanta right now, unless again they come out and this defense shocks everybody this year and they actually put something together.
Well, we'll take our first break of the hour. We'll wrap up the NFC South, and we'll get into some entertainment news, some Happy Gilmore talk, some wrestling. WWE Unreal was released yesterday. We'll talk about that and much more. Plus, we'll get to your texts. I've got them right here on the Early Bird Special on ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. Never heard this one. It's different. Welcome back to the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 101.1 FM, 12:30 a.m. And don't forget, you can go follow us on all social media platforms as well at the Early Bird Special Official. You'll find a little logo there, just a little cartoon bird and a worm. You'll see a couple of our clips on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We are all over the place. And go follow us on YouTube as well. You can watch the show every single day from 7 to 9 in the morning. Follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. You get a notification every time we go live and every time a new video gets put up. I try to put up at least a handful of videos a week, our interviews and stuff like that, just to kind of give you guys, if you don't want to sit through the whole 2-hour show. I know there's a lot of you that are too busy. You don't want to go through that, but you'd rather hear some of our segments. I'll be uploading a lot of our NFL segments and our breakdowns of the seasons this year.
I did get a request.
Yes, of course.
From a good friend. Michelle wants to hear the Leanne.
Of course. Now
interview.
that is going to be up on the YouTube channel here within a day or so. I promise. That's what I'm working on.
Her new show, Leanne,
drops on Thursday.
Drops tomorrow, as well as football starting. And I believe the trade deadline in baseball is tomorrow.
Yes.
We'll have a busy show tomorrow.
It's gonna be exciting. I can't wait to see all the baseball moves today and tomorrow, because there's a handful that I've been waiting for, especially with Philadelphia, but we won't get to that. Let's wrap up our thoughts on the NFC South real quick. Obviously, we both had Tampa Bay and Atlanta taking 1 and 2. I still stand by that this might be the division that we see a losing record in. I genuinely believe, but it is what it is. Third and fourth, I think we both are in the same category here. It's going to be walking into this, but I got Carolina at 3 with about 5 wins.
Same as last year?
Same as last year. I see that you have made a little bit of some adjustments, but I don't think they are big enough to actually make a difference. Although I do think we will see a little bit more of a consistent year at quarterback this year from Bryce Young. And I think that is going to be a great step forward for the Carolina Panthers to build on. I just don't know if you're going to have what it takes to take on a lot of these other teams outside of the NFC South.
And see, I've heard other shows, Canty, talking about he thinks Carolina is going to surprise. That's the surprise team for him. I think Carolina could surprise some people, but I'm more nervous about the management and the coaching.
Yeah.
That they do not stick with Bryce, kind of like what they did last year. And they kept Dalton for a reason. And I like Bryce Young, but hopefully this was a big offseason for him. Obviously, he had to learn a lot last year by being benched, and then they put him back in after Dalton got hurt,
and he
played
good.
A lot better.
Yeah, he looked good.
So I mean, if you're thinking some of the division winner is going to be under 500, man, that puts Carolina real deep. But luckily, they're in a division with the Saints.
That's what I'm saying. Now, when it comes to the Carolina Panthers, I think you're in a better situation. I think Canty might be right that this could be a surprise team for a lot of people. I could be way off base, and Bryce could come out and they could look like the Alabama Crimson Tide. Like they really could. I've
got them winning 6 or 7.
I got them about 5. I think that is a fair number, and 6 is a good number as well, but I don't think you're going to be contending just yet.
No.
I think you give it one more year and you're going to have some great quarterback battles here in the next 5 to 6 years between Penix and Young. But right now, I think it's really just not the year for the Panthers just yet. However, I have to agree with you. At least you're not the New Orleans Saints, who I'm going to tell you right now, this is not just me being a Falcons fan. I know a lot of you are thinking, oh, of course he thinks the Saints are at the bottom. No, I'm picking the Saints to maybe win 2 games this year. Maybe. And honestly, one of them might be my Falcons, which is really going to irk me because for some reason, we always lose to the Saints once a year. I don't get it. I will never get it, but it is what it is. Here's my thought process, though. I'm still saying you guys are going to be at the bottom of the NFL along with the Giants. But I think it's on purpose. I genuinely believe the Saints know Tyler Shuck is not the answer. And they're waiting for Archie. I know it's been at the talk of around. I know it's stupid. Like I've been saying it for a couple weeks, and then now I'm hearing ESPN start to talk about it too. But I'm telling you right now, we've seen teams do it with Trevor Lawrence. We've seen your own Dolphins do it with Tua Tagovailoa. Shoot, you can honestly say that the Titans may have done it last year for Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
So it is not outside of the realm of possibility that the Saints are boiling this down, saying we're going to try. Don't get me wrong, we're going to try.
And there's
But
some talented quarterbacks coming out of college this year. Not only
not just Archie.
I don't think Arch comes. And I heard an interview yesterday while I was driving around, and one, he wants to do something that his older brothers didn't do. He wants to win a championship.
Uncles, but yes.
And he also thinks that he's going to probably play 2 years at least.
I would think that as well.
And going by it, like I was happy to see Kellen Moore get his head coaching position with the Saints, and then everything started falling right behind him. I'm gonna agree with you. I don't think they get 2 wins.
It's gonna be a rough year for the Saints.
I don't think they get 2 wins. I think Kamara gets traded. I think everybody wants out. And sadly, it's all going to land on the new head coach.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they give him a year off because he's going to have to revamp this whole roster. And I've seen I was watching videos outside waiting for band camp to end. But I was watching the Ole Miss quarterback. There's some other quarterbacks that I think would be an immediate upgrade, obviously, with the Saints and other teams like the Giants. But
you could pick up a free agent quarterback right now that'll be an immediate upgrade for the Saints.
Yes, and I don't know why they haven't.
It's again, that's why I feel like
they're just sitting there waiting.
They're either in Delulu that Tyler Shuck is the answer, or they're just sitting there thinking,
no, we're just gonna tank.
We'll tank for a year or two and pick up the Manning boy. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, if there are 2 organizations that have talked about that more than anybody, it's the Giants and the Saints.
Yep.
Even with the Giants taking Jackson Dart, and they believe in Jackson Dart. They really do.
He sees the field this year.
I don't know if he will either. I think Russell is going to be the starter all year for the Giants.
And personally, I think the Giants will be better. They don't have a lot to look up to.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
I think they'll be way better than the Saints.
Yeah.
And I'm staying away from every Saints player I'm
not touching it. No.
Anybody in fantasy. And
unless you
Kamara.
do defensive players, and then I would say probably take Cam Jordan because he's a consistent threat. But I have to agree with you, Sparky. Outside of that, and tough. Maybe Alvin Kamara.
And I've got some family that maybe to pick up Kamara just to see where he lands by week 4 or 5.
I was talking to some Saints fans who work here at AGM, and they immediately said, "Oh no, this is going to be a bad year."
I've got family in New Orleans over there in Hammond, Louisiana.
Yep.
And they are pissed.
There's not a lot of love going on right now for the football team in New Orleans.
And these Saints fans are heavy. They have season tickets. They go every year, and I don't think they're even going to want to go.
During the hurricane. Like their stadium got destroyed and they were still showing up to pack out the stadium. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's the Saints. So that's what bugs me, but they have the second easiest record this year. Second easiest schedule going into this year behind the Niners. And they're still going to maybe get 2 games. That's how I feel about this team. Like, it's that bad. I don't see
giving them a couple.
Yeah, and that I don't see a single positive on the offensive side. I really don't. Outside, and that's with Alvin Kamara there. But Alvin Kamara last year was already, stirring up trade talk. I think for sure that this is going to be one of those years for the Saints where you just see a tank. And then maybe they pick up a great left tackle in the draft next year and they just wait for Archie. I genuinely feel like the Saints are planning that exact plan, and we're going to hear more and more about it throughout the season. Because, one, it would be an incredible story for the NFL. I really believe that because Grandpa played there, was very successful as a Saints quarterback. And for grandson to come in and do the exact same thing would be incredible for the organization. The Saints fandom would embrace him immediately. I mean, they do with everybody. Let's not get crazy. They did it with Derek too. But when you talking about this kid becoming a New Orleans favorite son, the Manning family is coveted down there. I genuinely believe that their plan is we're going to chalk it up to tanking for Archie. And if he comes out next year, great. If he comes out the year after that, great. I think they will legitimately wait unless somebody pops up, like you said, that they really, really love next year. Maybe the Ole Miss quarterback, maybe the guy out of Alabama. Who knows? It could be anybody at this point in time. We don't know who the Heisman candidates are. It's way too early to say. But I have to agree with you, Sparky. I say maybe 2 wins this year for the Saints. Maybe.
And I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Grandma. I know she loves her Saints, but it is going to be tough.
It's going to be a rough year, man. It really, really is for both South divisions. It is, but that's why I'm saying. I mean, I know we said the NFC South is a little more competitive than the AFC South. I don't even know if that's true. I really don't. I think that both of them are equally as bad, and just we're going to be seeing some rough football out of the South. But there's always going to be that one or two teams that comes out on top. Obviously, the Houston Texans and Buccaneers being the most recent. There's some hopeful ones out there if you're talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Atlanta Falcons. But everything else just looks ugly in the South.
We'll take our break. We'll talk a little entertainment. We've got some news for Vince McMahon, WWE Unreal, and we've got to talk Happy Gilmore. I finally finished it. We'll talk about that and much more. Plus, we'll get to your text. If you got anything to say, feel free. 661-842-2000. We are the Early Bird Special. Some news out of the NBA. They will play at least 6 regular season games in Europe over the next 3 seasons, starting with the pair of games between the Grizzlies and the Magic this season. We'll play in Berlin on January 15th and then again in London on the 18th.
Is basketball the only sport in America that can really pull this off? I mean, well, I guess baseball could too. But I mean, me and you have been very outspoken about how we feel about the NFL going overseas for a lot of these games and how it affects the players and honestly the safety of a lot of the players, since football is not exactly a coveted game outside of America. But is basketball really the easiest one where they could just pack up and say, hey, we're going to go play a couple games in France and you'll be back tomorrow? Kind of a thing, do you think?
Probably.
The overall love for the game of basketball, I could see being the case. Same with baseball. But I don't know. Just like it seems to me that it's much more successful for basketball when they go overseas. I know we've had an influx of a lot of European players. Obviously, the French have taken over basketball the last couple of years. But I don't know. Like I love seeing that they're going to London. I love seeing them in France last year. I mean, they have a couple games in Mexico as well, if I'm not mistaken.
And the NFL kicking off week 1 in Brazil.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we're trying to go global with a lot of these sports and trying to pull more people in. And I think that's why the NFL really is trying to force feed that to a lot of countries, for lack of a better term to put it. But I don't know. Like when it comes to basketball doing it, I always am going and saying, oh, sweet. Like we're having a game in London. But when I hear the NFL's going to Brazil, I'm like why? Like, what are we going to Brazil for? Like, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just my thought process, knowing that basketball is a worldwide and loved game and football not so much yet. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Money, money, money.
Oh, absolutely. That's what it all boils down to. And that's what it'll always boil down to. But
before we get into the new docuseries, WWE Unreal, Vince McMahon, news came out. He was actually in a
car wreck, I guess is the best way to put it, in Connecticut, where he ran into the back of somebody, pushing them into a wooden guardrail. Debris from that car flew over to the southbound lane, hit somebody else. So he's now on he's been charged with reckless driving and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Must have been the guns.
And it was right before he got the news of the Hulk Hogan passing. It happened the same day as we all got the news, but he didn't know about it until he got home. Claims that this
about the wreck or Hogan?
Oh, probably both, knowing that man's cognitive ability. But
oh my god,
at this point, I mean, like I said at the beginning of the show, anytime Vince McMahon is in the news, it's very rarely good news. And that's kind of the bad part about it, right? Like you got to feel for him at some point. I don't exactly feel for him as a person. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here trying to like say, oh, we should feel bad for Vince McMahon. Absolutely not. But like, you got to wonder if that does like weigh on him and Stephanie and the rest of the family. You know what I mean? Like every time you hear Vince in the news, I mean, if I'm Shane and I'm his son, and every time I hear, oh Lord, dad's name got brought up again.
Where is Shane?
Right now, he's working behind the scenes with a lot of different organizations, from what I understand. I don't think he's in the wrestling game at the moment. I know there were rumors that he was supposed to be jumping into AEW for a little bit. I don't know if that's actually the case. I know him and Tony Khan met a couple months ago, and I don't think anything ever came out of it. I think he's just kind of trying to help Tony, much as a lot of the old WWE guys have. So maybe that's just what they were having a conversation about. And at the end of the day, Tony Khan is really just a wrestling fan. So maybe he was just trying to connect with Sean or with Shane and see if he was even interested in coming back to the game at all.
Well, I know Vince is set to be back in court August 26th. And
he claims that this was the worst day of his life, losing Hulk Hogan and having the wreck at the same time. I find that to be a little hard to believe.
As a collector, you know, it's always sad when you lose one of your heroes growing up or whoever. Absolutely. But when you're a collector, you know, I went over the weekend and checked out a couple flea markets and collectible shops, and everything is doubled and tripled, whether it's Aussie memorabilia or Hogan's stuff. And I did read this morning that Hogan's beer that is supposed to be one of the worst beers ever.
Me it's not.
It's on back order. Oh yeah,
shut up!
It's being sold out everywhere.
You guys are going to be disappointed.
Yeah, just don't open it and drink it.
Don't drink it. Just don't drink it. Like, don't get me wrong. It's awful beer. Like,
yeah, I've heard.
But it's again, it's like I said, and actually I was asked this by a couple people here, in between shows and breaks and stuff, but I get a lot of that is like, was Hulk Hogan a good guy? And I look at him and say, honestly, as a person, no. As a businessman, sure. But even some of the latest things that he did in his life, including the Great American Beer and like the wrestling promotions that he was trying to get started and stuff, a lot of it felt a little disingenuous. Like a lot of it felt like he was just trying to gain something. You know what I mean?
Money. But I've also heard, I mean, I've got a couple friends that live out of state that have paid the
Ridiculous
amount of money to meet him and Jimmy Hart and take pictures with them. And they've all said that he was one of the nicest guys when it comes to his fans. And I will never get into the backstories of what has happened over the years of since post-retirement and all of that. But I mean, he is still going to be one of the greatest and probably one of the founders. I mean, not the founders, but
he was
one of the Mount
easily
Rushmore guys that have gotten to where the WWE and wrestling in general is in these days. And just kind of what Triple H said on Monday, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be streaming on Netflix and blowing up as much as we are without him.
Absolutely.
But
it's so influential that they did 3 separate 10 bell ring tributes.
Did they do one on NXT?
On NXT, yeah.
Right
they did one on NXT as well. So trust me, when it comes to his impact on the game, his impact on America as a whole, Hulk Hogan is always going to be remembered. Like I said,
there's another documentary coming out.
I mean, I named our YouTube video Hulkamania Will Live Forever because it will. You can listen to our thoughts on this from last week. His memory as Hulk Hogan will never die. But it's much like some other well-known people. If you can learn to just separate Hulk Hogan from Terry Boella, however you say his last name. Bonilla. Thank you. Whatever.
I just took the baseball name.
I know. It is. If you could separate Terry from Hulk.
Yeah. It's your like wrestling in general.
Yes. Hulk is the one you should celebrate. Terry just seemed to me like it was a little disingenuous. It was more money grabs, trying to use his popularity to win people over.
And the more documentaries I've watched, the less I like him.
Exactly. And the more stories that you hear, the more you realize behind the scenes, he really wasn't a good guy to work with. The
spectacle of wrestling, how he did Bret Hart, how he did, a lot of the wrestlers. It was just, but
as when it really boils down to it with Vince McMahon, Vince and Hulk are attached at the hip. If it was not for Hulk Hogan, Vince McMahon would not be Vince McMahon. If it wasn't for Vince McMahon, Hulk Hogan would not be Hulk Hogan. So really the two of them together are like, you cannot deny their impact on the world and the world of wrestling, but realistically separate from that, I think they're both kind of in the
people.
Same. Yeah.
But both getting back to wrestling, the new docuseries Unreal started yesterday. Burdick started the show saying he'd already binge watched the whole season.
I did.
I was able to watch the first episode and I'm hooked.
I am sleep deprived at the moment.
These documentaries are getting me anyways. But this first one, I was just my thoughts. One, I'm getting pulled and turned into wrestling guys that I didn't like. I didn't like Rhea, I didn't like Orton, and now they're one of my favorites. And getting to know these wrestlers on a personal level outside the ring. I mean, you cannot not like Rhea.
Right.
And the first episode, you've seen a lot of it, or you've seen the whole thing, so you know more about it. But my thing is getting to see the backstage of the Gorilla Room.
Yes.
Was
they
awesome.
Break down how that all works, who's sitting where, like what their jobs are.
And how the debut of Raw went way late.
Absolutely.
And,
it wasn't meant to. And that's the cool part about it, right? Is when you listen to us, and we're talking about it on Tuesdays or whenever we bring up wrestling, we can only tell you what we think, much like you guys. We aren't in the back rooms. We don't have people back there, insiders telling us what's going on. We can only guess on what's going on and how these stories are being developed. What this docuseries did very well was show you that not only do we do that, but they do that. It is a very last second thing on every occasion. When we're sitting there talking about how we were sitting here before WrestleMania, and the three of us were all thinking, what's going to happen with this whole love triangle between Heyman, CM Punk, and Roman? And the first person that I knew that brought up the fact that Seth Rollins could be actually the beneficiary of all this was Kimball Woods. And honestly, when I saw that and saw the internet was running with it too, I didn't think anything of it. I thought, it's whatever. They already have the storyline built.
Yeah.
This shows you, and I just a little dip into one of the episodes because it is all you're going to see stories from as far back as the beginning of Raw last year on Netflix all the way to WrestleMania. It's all of the biggest stories, including KO and Cody Rhodes, how the fight happened outside of his bus and how that was on purpose.
Oh, nice.
And how like they were hoping fans would see it.
Mhm.
They didn't know fans were going to see it, but they were hoping fans would see it. And it just kind of happened that way. Like, so they very much know how not only to manipulate the story, but manipulate you as a fan.
Mhm.
And it's really interesting to watch because it is really a last second thing. We all sit there and think, man, this was a beautifully built plan by Paul. And this was something that was probably made months ago that we never even thought. And they had the wool over eyes the whole time. No, not at all.
Age brings up, how they look at it as a season and how they break it down to this and that. And what, you never know with the injuries. It's like what Triple H was telling Rhea.
There's a whole episode on that.
How Liv threw her into the wall and, she felt it. And it's kind of cool to see, just watching as a fan and then watching the behind the scenes. And they don't show everything. Like I thought, they're going to ruin this, but it's kind of seeing the personal side of Cena.
It's stuff we already knew too.
Yeah.
Like it's not like them saying, "Oh yeah, halfway through the referee told them to do this." No,
but
we
that
all
is
knew.
the thing too that I was going to see is the biggest job is with the refs.
Yeah,
she's listening to 4 or 5 people
at the same
in her
time.
ear while trying to keep them. And how Triple H, would I think it was Jacob Fatu. Pushed a fan and he's like, no. And then there's like,
they
realized,
it's an extra.
It's fine.
Well, even then they were like, even then you probably shouldn't have pushed
but
him.
It's a cool thing. If you're a wrestling fan, even from the past or to now, it is an inside look where you kind of see the machine and how it works.
And not even just the good, right? But the bad. Like there's a moment where they are showing you the buildup of Tiffy and Charlotte from WrestleMania. And they bring up the divorce line. And you see Triple H walk up to Tiffy and say, how much of that was scripted? And she says, everything except my part at the end. He's like, so the divorce line was not scripted. And she said, no, not at all. That was me just kind of throwing that in there. And like you see the turnout from all of that and how Tiffy and Charlotte had real beef after that. And Triple H had to go and actually mediate that and all. Like it's real working situations. That's what I really enjoyed about this was I know a lot of fans, especially old school fans, like what you just said, were worried, oh, this is going to ruin the show. It's going to ruin everything about it. It really doesn't. It adds to it. It adds the allure of, okay, so this is how they work. This is how like you get to know what the referee is listening to
and the relationship with like CM Punk and Triple H before he came back. And there's a lot of cool things to pull from it. I'm only on episode 2, so I'm going to take my lunch break early and I'm going to watch episode 2 after the show. But I'm excited to finish that series. We'll take our last break. We'll get into some text. We'll recap our thoughts on Happy Gilmore, the sequel. And we'll preview tomorrow's show as we get into the AFC and NFC East, and hopefully
Sparky is very excited.
Oh yeah, I'm excited. Yeah.
Are you? Well, be honest with me.
My Mariners hat.
Be honest with me. Are you going to put the Dolphins at undefeated?
Yeah.
Because again, and for those of you who don't understand this, Sparky has a very long thing running with me and many others that he, especially you'll see during our football picks, never, no matter who they're playing, will pick anybody except the Dolphins.
Yeah, I'm not going to pick against my team.
No, I get that. I totally get it. I was just curious if you were going to put that into your analytics as well.
My mom makes fun of me because even when I was little, I would call him my daddy's Ammy. I didn't understand what Miami was. So they would say, you a Dolphins fan? You go for Miami? I said, no, it's my daddy's Ammy. I was like, oh, dumbass kid. But we'll get into the AFC and NFC East, but we'll get to our text right after this break on the Early Bird Special.
Welcome back. Final segment of the day, right here on the Early Bird Special. Thank you for joining us. Join us back here tomorrow, 7 to 9, as always. No guests tomorrow, but we're going to go down our AFC and NFC East thoughts and let you know who wins and knows. I promise you right now, it is not the Dallas Cowboys.
I'll be talking Fantastic Four.
Yes, you will, because I am very much expecting a rundown of how this movie went, because I am excited to go check this out this weekend if I can so get over there. I forgot how much I actually have going on this weekend, but
Yeah, this weekend is gonna be nuts.
it's going to be very
My
much
son's
packed.
birthday is Saturday. Got SummerSlam. Got all
Saturday
sorts
and
of
Sunday
crap going on.
I know.
I'm hoping to go by Dionysus.
That's
and,
my hope as well. I want to
some
get out there.
chicken and beer and wrestling.
I got a family affair I have to get to Saturday night too, so I'm gonna have to double up on that. But we'll figure it out. Well, we always do. We got stuff going on.
We've got some text. If we don't get to Happy Gilmore, we'll set it up with our movies tomorrow.
Absolutely.
But we'll try. But the first text says Kendrick Perkins said yesterday that CP3 was a top 10 point guard of all time, and I remember one of you guys saying that.
That'd be me.
Do you remember who the other 9 would be?
The other 9. Let's see.
That's
Off top of my head, Pistol Pete has to be up there. Magic has to be up there. John Stockton has to be up there. I would say Chris Paul, obviously. Steve Nash would be on the list. I mean, I'd have to go down. Isaiah would be up there. Peyton. Gary Payton is the best defensive point guard we've ever seen. I mean, the list goes on and on. But yes, I said that weeks ago and 100% still stand by that Chris Paul at the end of his career, which most likely will be at the end of this year, will be seen and is a top 10 point guard in the NBA.
And I heard Ralph saying that Ohtani should be a closer.
Don't get me started. I swear, if I start hearing you Dodger fans run with that and not give me credit, I'll start pulling the audio.
The next text said, did you see that green thing getting thrown on the WNBA game?
I wasn't gonna bring this up. I didn't know if we were gonna look, man, that's some rude stuff. That's some crude, rude stuff right there.
Buffalo Bills stuff.
That is some Buffalo Bills type stuff, absolutely. But yes, a green toy is what I'm going to say. A green toy was thrown onto
an adult toy.
Court at a WNBA game yesterday. I'm not exactly sure why or what the message they were trying to send.
How do you sneak that in? That was it wasn't small.
Not at all. And it was green.
Why?
I saw the video apple, and I was like, what do you mean they threw something? And I see the green. I was like, the heck did they throw? That's green. What is that? And then
they zoomed in on it on ESPN.
I was like, wow.
We
have reached a whole new level as fans, man. That you're
this
that
game in
upset.
Buffalo. That is what it immediately thought.
Oh, man.
We did get some breaking news. Zach Sealer is expecting to sign his contract extension later this afternoon. The other one said, I watched the new Happy Gilmore was surprised on how good it was.
So good.
Hopefully we'll get into that tomorrow.
So good.
With Judge injured, I think Ohtani takes the MVP now. No question, but I can see the dumpster as the runner-up.
Again, you have to remember as well. I agree with you. Don't get me wrong, but you have to remember that it's an NL and AL MVP.
Yes.
So Shohei was already going to get the NL regardless. And at this point, Cal had already actually jumped over Judge in the voting, I believe, right before Judge's injury. The injury doesn't help him, obviously. But I do think it's a pretty much runaway now with Judge being injured, unless he comes back and is firing on all cylinders again. It's more than likely going to be Shohei and Cal walking away.
Yes. And bouncing off that, says, love the Seattle hat, Sparky.
Yes. Again, it looks good. I'm telling you, he looks good as a Seattle fan.
The Charger fan says Trey Harris will be a stud in LA, and the Chargers have a great wide receiver room. You guys are crazy.
Name one.
Trey Harris. He just said.
Again, you that's fine. Until that's proven, though, I'm not going to sit there and say you're right. And I'm just telling you right now, you think that in training camp, then name one wide receiver that is going to line up on the opposite side of Patrick Surtain for an entire game and be successful. I'm going to tell you right now, there's not a single one on your roster. Sorry. I hate to be the one to put that to you. And then same question for Trent McDuffie. The corner for the Chiefs.
What about him?
No, same question. Same thing. Is there any wide receiver that can line up against Trent McDuffie and make him look dumb?
No,
there's not. So I'm happy that you have success or you have faith in your team, but I'm telling you right now, unless Jerry Rice's son steps up and is Jerry Jr. and comes out and is just the god that
And I didn't even
his
see him
dad
on the
was,
roster.
I don't think he is anymore. He was last year, but I think they put him on the practice squad. He may not even be there anymore.
And the last one says, I know injuries are a part of the game. Football is tough, but I'll say it'll take someone like Mahomes to drop before the NFL will jump in and actually investigate these injuries.
You know what? As sad as that is, it's probably true. It really is. I mean, it took them this long to really look into the concussion thing and CTE, and we haven't even talked about the shooter out in New York. I don't really want to. We all know what the story is, so it's an unfortunate situation. Thank God that no one else was hurt and the NFL was not attacked. But at this point right now, unfortunately, I think you're right. Unless a big name like Patrick Mahomes goes down with a major ACL injury, they're probably not going to look into that, and they're probably just going to be like, it's part of the game. You're just going to have to get used to it.
And some more news came out of the Marcus Morris arrest. He was actually writing bad checks.
How?
He wrote a $115,000 check to the MGM Grand and another $150,000 one at the Wynn. Who the hell writes checks, first of all? And second of all,
that's the first. That's the
you're gonna go to Vegas writing checks.
That is the first question.
Hot
You're
checks.
absolutely right. You're absolutely right. That is the first question. Who the hell is still accepting and writing checks? And two, you are a former NBA player, my friend. One that made a lot of money, and you were in the league for a long time. How are you drawing up empty checks? Like, again, this is why I've been saying on this show, though, that we need to have athletes starting in college. Shoot, maybe even in high school now with NIL. You got to start taking some budgeting. You got to take some budgeting courses, because for a man to go in and have millions upon millions of dollars and you're writing bounced checks and you haven't been out of the league for more than a handful of years, that's wild. That's wild to me. But that's all we got for you guys today. Join us back here tomorrow, 7 to 9, as always. AFC East, NFC East. We got to get out of the way for the great Rich Eisen. Sparky, let's get out of here.